Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today at Publicis Commerce on the I Could Buy That series. We want to keep things concise, so let me remind you about the rules of the game before we get into it. First, we invite a credible guest to share a thought that will expand how we look at commerce. Today's guest is a dear colleague of mine, Margot Logan, SVP Omnichannel and Emerging Markets at Publicis Commerce. Second, we ask them to open up with their thesis in one sentence to set the stage. Finally, we dive deeper, looking at 3 key data points to back their thesis to hopefully get us thinking about our industry in a different way. So, Margot, hi. I see you all the time, but I'd love it if you could just tell us a bit about yourself so that those watching could get to know you.
Sure. So I've been at Publicis for 3 years, in always a marketplaces role. Now I've expanded a little bit into other channels, omni-channel, as commerce has expanded. But my first love is marketplaces, and that is because before Publicis, I worked at Amazon for 2.5 years as basically a consultant using Amazon data to help drive business on Amazon. And then before that, I was at Unilever in the brand space, running big brands, launching new brands, all sorts of stuff like that. Um, and here I am now, talking commerce all the time.
Well, we're glad to have you. So let's just get to it. What's this idea that you want our listeners to buy into?
So, Prime Day, which we just went through, no longer prime in the trades, something that people are always like, Prime Day again, it's rote. But my hypothesis is that, in fact, Prime Day, this last version, showed us that it's still newsworthy and still a participation must.
Okay, and what makes you think that?
So the first thing is, first of all, Prime Day actually had a lot of excellent deals for those who were paying attention. So not a blanket statement, of course, but certain brands and categories are always going to have more deals or better deals. However, there's a general assumption out there that Prime Day pricing isn't that good, or specifically this year, there was some chatter out there that prices weren't very low. But after the fact, there was a piece from Analytics Index that talked about how Prime Day 22 versus 21 actually had a 3% drop in sales, 3% drop in pricing site-wide, and that when they did direct product comparisons of like pre-Prime Day and Prime Day sales, there was an average 18% drop in price, which that's huge, actually. And that seems to me like a big deal that we need to turn that messaging around. So not only does Amazon have to turn that messaging around and make sure that people understand deals are real, but the brands do. So, if they know that there are potential consumers out there and they know that they want to get to them, make sure that they understand there are real deals to be had. And Amazon needs to make sure that this is truly an event that's not to be missed when it comes to offers. And I think maybe they need to build up trust again in that capacity, because it feels like the branding has maybe gone awry or it's been lost in just overall Prime Day branding.
Okay, so deals are real. That's the
Deals are
first.
real. Yeah, I like that. That's nice.
What else?
All right. So the second one is that Amazon was actually willing to allow margin breaks on items that are normally already low. And this is interesting, and I'll get to why it's interesting in a minute. But the top 3 selling categories for Prime Day in the US were household essentials, which is interesting, consumer electronics, always interesting, and home. And 2 of these 3, not a surprise. Like, home has always been a hot seller since COVID. People are home, they're wanting to do home improvement, comfort, all that. Consumer electronics, always enormous for Prime Day because that includes Amazon devices, and that's a key sales item for Amazon during Prime Day. And this year, in fact, broke a record for them worldwide in sales of Amazon devices. But household essentials is kind of unsexy stuff. It's toilet paper, paper towels, grocery, sort of stuff that's like mundane. But what's interesting is these are on deal, but aren't necessarily what consumers are looking for on Prime Days past. But this time around, because we keep talking about inflation and recession and all of these things out in the marketplace, and it's part of that larger national conversation, the fact that these essentials were such a hot category makes me go, okay, this is where consumers were wanting to spend. Amazon knows this. Amazon did their research. They never do anything for no reason. And they were willing to break a deal for these margin, not decretive, but lower margin items where they're not going to be making as much money back from their manufacturers. So interesting because it's, a testament to what's going on with the economics of the US, but also interesting because of how brands can, work the system a little bit. But also the other piece of this that's kind of interesting, because so many household essentials don't normally get sold on Amazon, they get sold on Walmart or at Target, like in brick and mortar. The fact that Amazon was willing to take a price loss-ish on these means that they were removing people from the marketplace. So like they now have made sure that no one's going to be going back to Walmart and Target. Nobody's going to be filling up their carts with extra stuff in the next couple of months. So pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool in terms of like retailer dynamics, but also in terms of what do brands need to do now going into the next fall season where there's holiday or where there's potentially another Prime Day event coming. They need to make sure that they're thinking about what their usage rates are on the different items that sold hot on Prime Day, because you've now just taken a bunch of people out of the market for like 3 to 6 months. So make sure that you're managing your expectations. So anyway.
You made reference to a couple of other retailers. We know that, Prime Day is just open wallet day and, everyone's going to grab a portion of
Yeah.
that. I know you
Yep.
have one last thing you want to mention about those other retailers.
Yeah. So the other piece, and again, I think this is where it goes to with Amazon knowing their customer and having the data in mind. There was from Numerator, I went and looked at some of their interesting takes. 65% of consumers said they spent about the same or less this year on Prime Day. 44% only considered Amazon when they were looking at things to purchase for Prime Day. And then 62% of shoppers only ended up shopping on Amazon versus other retailers. So a lot of people were still comparing prices. A lot of people still went and looked and checked, but Amazon had the lowest price and they were like, nope, this is what I'm doing, period, end of story. So Amazon knew that this was a good moneymaker / moneymaker long-term for them.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure I got this right. What you're saying overall is that Prime Day is still newsworthy. We've got to bring the love back for Prime Day, and it's a participation must for our brand partners.
Yes.
This is backed up by the fact that there actually were real deals. For those of us who are paying attention, there were some great deals to be had from the consumer end. That's on the back of your second point, which was, for once, Amazon was willing to take margin breaks on items that were actually normally already low. Perhaps this is a follow-up to Jeff Bezos' famous tweet about better understanding the state of the consumer and inflation. And lastly, although other retailers were trying to drive their own discounts, most shoppers still look at Amazon for Prime Day and ended up spending their money there.
Yep.
So,
Correct.
so again, so you say Prime Day is newsworthy. I know a lot of the industry has kind of, lost the love for it. What would the haters say to this whole point that it's a participation must?
I mean, what would the haters say to it? I think they probably would continue to say either Amazon is, well, you know what? I don't think they can't discount the fact that Amazon's important. So I don't know that they would be able to say too much. I think you have to always, in the case of haters, you have to throw some data at them and be like, well, this is where people are shopping. So if you want to be part of the traffic and part of where people are, fine. If you want to miss the boat, or if you have a better idea, I'd love to see it with that much, clout and traffic. So
I feel like there's some Publicis commerce swag there, like a T-shirt that says when there are haters, throw data at them.
that's right. That's right.
Anyways, thank you for this. Thank you, Margot. Thanks everyone for listening. We hope this got you thinking, and we'd love to hear your feedback. So drop us an email if you do, or hit us up on LinkedIn. Otherwise, join us next time for I Could Buy That.